Joining me now from Atlanta, Georgia is Darryl Cohen. He's a criminal defense attorney. Darryl, did the jury deliver the correct verdict? Did the prosecution do its job? What happened here?
Well, there's a whole conflict. What am I going to say? Everything came together. So did the prosecution do their job? Yes, they did. Did the defense do their job? Yes, they did. Think about going to a supermarket and you see something that you're supposed to buy because it's healthy, but it doesn't look good, so you don't buy it. Now, in this instance, like everything else, you take somebody and everybody, if four of us are looking at the same object, we all see it differently and we all describe it differently. So what did the defense do? They cleaned him up. They made him look like a very nice young man who just found himself with a weapon that he should not have had. Did they do the right thing? They did what they thought was the correct thing. And there's something called jury nullification. If a jury hears the evidence and they don't like the evidence and they like the defendant, they can and will acquit. And in my view, this is exactly what happened here. The jury did not want to take a 17-year-old boy, even though he's a man as far as the law is concerned, and incarcerate him for the rest of his life. They did not want him to have a record for doing what he said was defending himself. It is all over the world what the facts were, but we all interpret it in a very different way.
Interesting there, Darryl, because explain, if you can, for our international audience. There's video, there's photographs. How can two people in this case end up dead at the hands of another person with no penalty? I mean, will there be lawsuits stemming from this case? Is this case over?
Well, criminally, it's clearly over unless the feds decide to take it over, and I don't think they will do that for a violation of civil rights. But will there be lawsuits? I would be stunned if there were not, because the burden of proof or the evidence is different in a civil rather than a criminal case. In a criminal case, one has to be found guilty beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. In a civil trial, it's what's called a preponderance of the evidence. And so if you take a scale, if it just weighs a smidgen more one way or the other, the jury can find whatever they want to find him guilty, but not on a criminal side, guilty of negligence, guilty of causing the deaths of two people. That they can do. But I think there will be a civil trial, but does he have any money? Or will they do this merely to show that, in their view, the verdict was wrong?
We're seeing wide reaction across this country, especially on social media. People are very divided. Some feel that there are two different kinds of justice systems in this country. If you can explain the feeling behind that and why folks are so divided about this verdict.
Well, it's sad that we have gotten so political with everything. The liberals are saying he should have been convicted. The conservatives are saying he should have been acquitted as he was. I am saying that the jury looks at it the way they think they need to look at it. And keep in mind, it's likability. We can listen to and watch and hear evidence all we want, but when it comes down to the very situation of guilty or not guilty, it all depends on how the jury views the defendant. If he was dressed poorly, if he was acting out in court, I can assure you this verdict would not have been what it is. But because the defense really did a great job of making him look smaller than he was, nicer than he acted, they found, that is, the jurors found a way to find him not guilty. I neither agree nor disagree with the verdict, but I will say this. When you look at the entire situation, the jury was looking at a place. He put himself in harm's way. He never should have done that. But he's 17. And boys are not men at 17. They may look like it, they may act like it, but they're not. So the jury was able to give him, in their view, and in my opinion, the benefit of the doubt by finding him not guilty. And I'll say this, if he's a bad guy, he'll do something again and get himself in trouble, but it will never again be this. This is all over the world, and everybody has their own opinion. But my opinion is I was not in that courtroom. I didn't feel the tension. I didn't see facial expressions as closely as I would have liked to. The jury looks at body language, they look at everything, and they have to make a decision that they like or dislike him. If they disliked him, I can assure you he would have been found guilty regardless of the evidence. Because they liked him, they chose to believe his story that he was merely defending himself.
And I think
And
a
there was a
lot.
melee. I mean, this was a riot. This was not a fun time. This wasn't something that happened, what I call PFA, picked from air. It happened because there was all of this tension in the rioting that was taking place.